actions didn't just disrespect me, and you disrespected the badge you swore to protect with. And you terrified people who never had the power to record you.
Sit down.
You think you picked on a random woman, Jake? You picked on the woman who built the cases you ran from. And you picked on the wife of the man who decides whether you keep that badge.
This is the last day corruption walks these halls. From today, we rebuild this department from the inside out.
Before those words echoed through the police department like thunder, no one in Texas knew a storm was forming. One built on prejudice, courage, and truth. But the moment Officer Jake Morgan stopped Nia Lawson at 5:30 p.m., and it all started on a calm Monday evening in an almost empty parking lot. A police cruiser slid in behind a luxury car, and out stepped Officer Jake Morgan, a cop who hunted for easy targets for black drivers and anyone he thought couldn't fight back. That evening, he unknowingly started a chain reaction he could never undo. The woman behind the wheel, Nia Lawson, stepped out slowly, calm, healthy, and steady. A young black woman in her 30s, with a knowing look on her face. Nia never expected a police officer would treat her like a criminal, just because she was a black woman driving her husband's car around the city, until she turned off the engine of the BMW she was driving that evening. Officer Jake smirked, coming closer. "Yeah, nice car. Too nice for someone like you. Look at you. Step away from the vehicle." "Good evening, officer." Nia greeted him softly. "Save the polite act. Out of the car now. I'm giving the orders here." "Officer, is there a problem?" she asked with a calm voice. "Don't make me repeat myself." Officer Jake Morgan shouted at the top of his voice. "Enough. Get out of the vehicle before I drag you out now." She steadied her breath, her voice low but unshakably firm, and with a quiet determination in her voice, the kind that comes from years of surviving humiliations. She asked again, "Why the sudden harassment, officer?" Nia had faced disrespect before, but never this kind of prejudice, the kind that feels cheap, petty, and painfully desperate. Her face still showed the truth of someone who'd survived worse, but refused to bow to this kind of cruelty. "With all due respect, officer," she said, eyes locked on him. "What exactly threatens you? The car? Or what exactly did I do to make you think you could treat me like I'm less than human?" Nia asked, her voice steady with quiet determination, her eyes still locked on him. "Watch your tone, princess," said Officer Jake Morgan. "One word from me, and this becomes a very bad night for you. Women like you don't belong in cars like this. Give me your papers." Jake stretching out his hand as he commands the innocent young woman with deep brown skin. But suddenly, Nia couldn't hold it in anymore. Nia tried to stay calm, but calling her princess, and when he crossed the final line by demanding money, something deep inside her finally snapped. After minutes of his barking, mocking, and talking down at her like she didn't belong there, she slowly lifted her head, looked him straight in the eye, and her voice changed. "Funny, men like you don't belong wearing a badge either. And one more disrespect from you. This becomes a case file with your name all over it written in bold letters." Officer Jake Morgan stared back at her, right into those eyes locked firmly on his. Her eyes heavy with exhaustion mixed with resignation, but still refusing to bow. And for the first time, he felt the discomfort of being truly seen. But before you see what Nia was quietly preparing behind that calm stare, you need to understand one thing. Officer Jake had just poked a storm he was never built to survive. He thought he was bullying a random black woman that evening. But what he really did was awaken someone who knew the law better than he knew his own badge. And trust me, that alone will prove that targeting the wrong person out of prejudice doesn't just backfire as karma. It destroys careers. "If you're done screaming like a man who's afraid of the truth," Nia said calmly, "maybe try talking to me the way you'd talk to anyone who looks like you." Her tone was sharp, controlled, as she handed him the documents. The kind of tone that lets a bully know their power just died. Jake stalked around her BMW pretending and used it as excuses for checking her documents, even though everything was perfectly clean. Then he leaned in close and whispered, "We can make this whole thing go away for just $300. Or I invent something nasty on your record. This car is not yours. It belongs to someone else, and the gender is a male. I run this district so you can't beat me." Jake tightened his jaw. "This is my husband's car, Officer Jake Morgan." Nia replied, reading his name printed on his uniform badge. "I don't care," Jake shouted loudly as he tore open a pack of gum with one hand, popped a piece into his mouth, and started chewing loud, a disrespectful rhythm meant to show he didn't take her seriously, chewing with the kind of careless arrogance only a man who thought he'd never be caught could have. Like a man convinced the evening belonged to him. She didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She simply studied his face, memorizing every word and every threat. As he turned to look away, waiting for the money, Nia's eyes swept the area. Then she spotted it, a CCTV camera mounted high on the Elite's collection wall, angled perfectly toward them. A silent witness Jake never even noticed. "Take the money, and take the fall that comes with it," Nia said softly and handed him the $300. He thought she was intimidated. He thought he had won. He didn't know she was attorney Nia Lawson, one of the toughest prosecutors in the state, or that she had spent her whole career taking down corrupt officers just like him. And he definitely didn't know who her husband was. As soon as Jake swaggered away with her money, she slipped into the boutique, a high-end jewelry and fashion shop favored by the city's elite. Inside, shimmering displays and polished marble floors screamed luxury. "Hi," she said gently. "I'm sorry to bother you. I need to ask you something important. Do your CCTV cameras capture the parking lot outside?" Raising her hand, pointing at the direction of the CCTV camera, shop attendant Maria, standing behind the counter. "Oh yes, ma'am. They cover the front walkway and a bit of the lot. Is something wrong? Something important just happened there 10 minutes ago. Please wait, I'm coming." She picked out an outfit sharp enough for a detective, switched outfits fast, and approached the counter. Her voice was calm, respectful, but firm with purpose. "I need access to your security footage," she said, placing her card on the counter. "I was just approached by a police officer out there. I need to verify something that happened. Is it possible for me to have a copy of the footage from the last 10 minutes? Maria paused, her eyes scanning Nia's face. She could see the seriousness beneath her calm tone. "Maria," she said, "we don't normally release footage directly, but if you have a legal reason, we can pull it up for review. I'll need to get my manager's approval." "That's perfectly fine. And yes, I have a very legal reason." Her voice carried that quiet authority that made people listen without fully knowing why. Maria nodded and picked up the phone. A moment later, the manager, a tall, older woman with glasses, stepped out from the back office. "Manager Elena, my staff says you need footage?" "Yes. A police officer extorted me outside. Your camera should have captured the moment he approached my car. I need the recording." Nia responded firmly. Elena blinked, but she heard the firmness in Nia's tone. "Say no more. Follow me. Let's pull it up." Nia followed her into the small surveillance room, the hum of the monitors filling the air. Elena clicked through the timeline until the screen showed Officer Jake leaning on Nia's BMW, smirking, chewing gum, and demanding money. Elena's mouth opened wide in shock. "My God, he really did that. I'll export this footage right now. Thank you. You have no idea how important this is." Nia smiled for the first time. "Oh, I think I do. And, for what it's worth, I hope justice finds him." Nia gave a small nod. Justice wasn't just going to find him. Karma is already on its way. A minute later, she was back in her car, pulling away. Nia drove off, straight to a little diner 5 minutes away from the precinct. Because she knew something Officer Jake didn't. Corrupt cops always brag, and they brag in the same places. She sat quietly in the corner, pretending to read, with the book covering her face. And right on schedule, Jake walked in, loud, laughing, bragging to the other two officers about the black woman he humbled tonight. Nia hit record on her phone. Every word, every racist joke, every detail of his extortion scheme, captured clean and clear. She saved the video on her phone and also forwarded it to her husband through WhatsApp messages as a proof, and just to be able to get it back again in case her phone got broken or stolen, and for her husband to also discover what she just passed through. Because no one knows what will happen in the next minutes. And at that moment, he didn't even notice her. He didn't notice the wedding ring either. The ring that belonged to the chief of internal affairs. Her husband, Chief Lawson, Chief of Internal Affairs. By the time Nia got home, she already had everything she needed. She leaned closer to her husband and clicked play. Jake's voice filled the room. Women like her never fight back. Her husband froze. His jaw tightened. He replayed the audio twice, then looked at Nia with a slow, dangerous smile. Nia, we didn't just catch a bad cop, he said, his eyes steady. Sweetheart, you just exposed an entire network. If justice matters to you, one click can help shine a light where others try to keep things dark, and spreads a big message. It still signals to the algorithm that people like you still care. Jake had no idea he didn't just extort a prosecutor that evening. His corrupt demand pushed her to make a move that would shake and humble the entire police department. That night, Nia didn't sleep. She sat beside her husband, reviewing every second of the audio, every frame of the video, every racist joke, every brag, thinking of every dollar Officer Jake had stolen from people he thought would stay silent. By morning, she had already printed the screenshots, organized the audio files, saved the video in multiple folders. Her husband was done being calm. Chief Lawson drove into the precinct with Nia beside him, not as his wife, but as attorney Nia Lawson, the prosecutor responsible for putting some of the most dangerous officers behind bars. As they walked into the police department, with the quiet confidence of someone who came carrying truth, her heels clicked down the hallway. Every officer turned to look, some out of curiosity, some out of guilt. Behind her walked her husband, the man every corrupt cop feared waking up to. Their presence together was like thunder before a storm. Inside the Internal Affairs boardroom, a long glass table stretched across the room. Waiting around it were 12 officers, including supervisors, detectives, and watch commanders. Some of them were already sweating, waiting. Jake Morgan wasn't there yet. Chief Lawson placed a folder on the table. He didn't sit. The precinct felt different that morning. Every guilty man in the room felt a chill he couldn't explain. But Jake, he strutted in late, coffee in hand, acting like the king of a rotten little kingdom. Until he saw them. Nia standing tall, her husband standing colder than he had ever seen him, and a room full of Internal Affairs officers behind them. Jake froze. Chief Lawson stared at him like a man who had waited years for this moment. Officer Morgan, he said quietly, take a seat. Jake didn't move. Nia looked him right in the eye, the same way she did in that parking lot. Except this time, she wasn't the one being interrogated. You said women like me don't fight back, Nia said softly. You were wrong. Jake's mouth trembled, but no words came out. Nia placed her phone on the table and pressed play. That black woman thought she could talk back to me. I took her money and shut her up. Easy. They never fight back. Silence. Thick, suffocating, unforgettable silence. Every officer in the room froze. Nia watched their eyes widen, watched the realization hit them like a punch. Then another voice played. Jake bragging, naming officers he worked with, talking about fixing evidence and splitting cash deals. It wasn't just one bad cop. It was a web, a whole network. The longest-serving sergeant slammed his fist on the table. Turn that off, he said. Nia stepped forward. No, she said calmly. We're just getting started. She clicked play again. The part where he threatened her. The part where he demanded money. The part where he bragged about his easy targets. Every officer turned pale. A female detective whispered, "Oh my God, how many people did he do this to?" Another officer leaned back slowly, whispering, "We're finished." Chief Lawson finally spoke. "You think you picked on a random woman, Jake?" His voice sharp. "You picked on the woman who built the cases you fled from. And you picked on the wife of the man who decides whether you keep that badge." Jake's breathing got shaky. "Chief, please. Sit. Down." Chief Lawson's voice echoed through the room. Jake sat. For the first time in his career, he was powerless. Nia stepped closer. "I told you," she whispered. "One more disrespect, and your name becomes a case file." She slid a folder toward him. Across the front, in bold letters. Case file, Jake Morgan, corruption, extortion, misconduct. His hand shook, but Nia wasn't done. "Your actions didn't just disrespect me," she said. "You disrespected the badge you swore to protect with." And you terrified people who never had the power to record you. All the confidence on Jake's face vanished in a single heartbeat. The moment he realized who she truly was, every ounce of arrogance drained from his expression. The other officers shifted, guilt crawling up their spines. Because they weren't just hearing Jake's crimes. They were hearing their own secrets hiding inside his words. Nia stepped forward, her voice calm, almost too calm. "Officer Morgan, you didn't just extort a woman. You extorted a prosecutor." Jake swallowed hard. "And worse," she continued, "you extorted the wife of the man who signs your fate." Jake tried to speak, but internal affairs surrounded him. Chief Lawson raised a hand. "Before he's taken, everyone in this department needs to hear this," he said, scanning the room. "Today is not about one officer. Today is about the culture that allowed him to operate." Heads dropped, some in shame, some in fear. Nia spoke next, her voice sharp enough to demand respect without ever shouting. "I've spent my entire career fighting men who hide behind badges. Men who think fear is a weapon. Men who believe people like me, black, educated, successful, don't belong in the spaces we've earned." She paused. "But here's the truth you all need to understand. We don't need your permission to exist." Her words cracked the room open. Chief Lawson pulled out a folder thick with documents. "These," he said, "are the conditions internal affairs will be enforcing effective immediately." Every eye lifted. He continued. "Condition 1, mandatory body camera activation. Every officer will wear a body cam. Every officer will keep it on. No exceptions. No malfunctions. No excuses. Condition 2, financial audit of every patrol officer. Every unexplained dollar. Every off-record traffic stop. Every suspicious complaint, we investigate. Condition 3, zero tolerance for prejudice policing. One verified racist remark. One discriminatory stop. One abuse of authority. And your badge is gone. Condition 4, a civilian review board. For the first time, the community will have a seat at the table." The room went silent. Some officers looked relieved. Others looked terrified. Jake was shaking. That's not fair," he stuttered. Nia finally stepped toward him. "You want fair?" she asked. "Fair would have been treating me like a human being last night." Her eyes met his, not with anger, but with truth. "And one more thing," she added softly. "You're going to repay every dollar you stole. Not because you have a choice, but because justice doesn't negotiate with bullies." Jake dropped his head as internal affairs cuffed him and escorted him out. Chief Lawson turned to his officers. "This is the last day corruption walks these halls," he said. "From today, we rebuild this department from the inside out." Nia walked past Jake slowly. He couldn't look at her. She paused at the door. "You picked the wrong woman to target that night," she said. "But in a strange way, you helped expose something bigger." She walked out. Her husband followed. Jake Morgan's badge was placed on the table, and the room remained silent. Because everyone there knew, this wasn't the end of the story. This was the beginning of a reckoning. But the real impact wasn't his arrest. The real impact was the silence he left behind. The kind of silence where every guilty man hears his own footsteps toward consequences. By the end of the week, one Jake was charged with extortion, harassment, and abuse of authority. 2, 3 other officers were suspended pending investigation. 3, a full corruption probe shook the entire precinct. 4, Nia became a quiet hero in a story she never wanted to be part of. But it wasn't pride she felt. It was relief. Relief that one night of courage exposed years of injustice. Relief that her voice, calm, steady, unshakable, protected people who couldn't protect themselves. And relief that she had a partner who stood beside her not as a husband, but as a man who believed in accountability. Sometimes the people the world tries hardest to intimidate are the ones built to expose the truth. And sometimes, when prejudice pushes too far, justice doesn't whisper, it roars. Stories like this deserve to be seen. If justice matters to you, one click helps shine a light where others try to keep things dark. Thanks for watching From the Case, Files Uniting Stories.